All right, let's see here. Let me. Okay, so uh, Ron Paul, okay, and Evangelicals. I was listening to Michael Savage today, and he made an excellent assessment of the Republican candidates, and he sized them up according to the art of politics. And I think that if you're going to take the art of politics and analyze the Republican field, pretty much everything Michael Savage said is correct. You know, you got Ron Paul, looks like he's a baker, like the I think I would call him a Keebler elf. Michelle Bachmann, she's getting too sort of psyched up about her success, I think. And of course, Mitt Romney, he's too much like politics as usual candidate. And Rick Perry, he had most said was most electable. So what I want to do is talk about this instead of sizing up the field, in the light of the art of politics. I'd rather try to size it up in light of what electability really means in our contemporary culture. And electability really is code word for World Bank, IMF stooge. So really what it comes down to is whichever of these candidates is going to be most useful to the World Bank or the IMF is also going to be most electable. It just so happens that the art of politics and the electability, coincide, because I think what happens is the candidate that's going to be most useful to the World Bank is also going to have the most polished act. I mean, look at Obama, for instance. The World Bank, along with the mainstream media and the media outlets that they own, probably has a lot to do with the impressions that we get of the various candidates, the way they're being portrayed in the media. And I agree that there's going to be some intrinsic qualities that the candidates will project that will either be positive or negative. Really, electability is, as far as the populace is concerned, comes down to superficials. I mean, really, you're talking about the Jerry Springer or Ellen DeGeneres factor. I mean, that's really it's a step above that, but not very far above that. That comprises the populace that makes a candidate electable. Because I mean, Savage could have talked about something deeper like that, what is it about the human psyche that requires these superficial accoutrements, to make them assess a politician. Why can't they do it on the issues? See, so I think that you're going to fight a losing battle. You're going to be relegating your position to the lowest common denominator. Right? Basically, in effect, what Savage is saying is that all of us Americans are trapped by the lowest common denominator. Which, I mean, it's true, but I mean, I would rather try to concentrate on bringing society up out of the gutter and, you know, into a you know, a higher plane. You know, I mean, because really, it's only one step above. It's only one step above the gutter. We're talking about is the populace that makes somebody electable is the same populace that doesn't realize that sports is on the front of the major newspapers now more frequently. You know, because they're really stupefied and a you know, sheeple. It's a type of depth to their ability to think. And so, you know, I would rather not surrender to that, you know, populist electability economy. You know, I'd rather try to change things and not say, okay, well, this is just, you know, this is the way it is, so we're gonna elect the electable. No, I think that's why we're losing our country, because we are people that elects the electable, and the electable really happen to belong to the World Bank and the IMF. And the electable are, you know, the problem. You know, I mean, it actually comes down to that. Now, I think that, you know, as evangelical, what am I looking for now? See, I just made a video recently talking about this. You know, comparing, for instance, Michelle Bachmann and Ron Paul, and actually I was comparing Rick Perry and Mitt Romney to Ron Paul. But let's take Michelle Bachmann and Ron Paul. Bachmann, you know, shares my values. What she doesn't, what she's not addressing, though, is the fact that that's not the purpose of the federal government, for people to try to use the federal government to dictate values onto the whole country. See, that's the problem we're having right now. Those of us who are Christians have suffered under several decades now, where the secular humanists are using the federal government to dictate to us, and you know, we have secular humanist Sharia government that's making us pay for secular humanist schools, and I'm a Christian. I don't like that, and I don't want to do that. See, so Ron Paul, in my estimate, is much closer to. He's the only one going in the direction we need to be going in terms of this broader question here as to what actually is the purpose of the federal government. Now, I think Ron Paul is a step in the right direction. He, you know, my philosophy, of course, is that eventually, when we want to get to no federal government whatsoever, I think that's, you know, people talk about the evolving civility of the, you know, modern man, and, you know, what will modern government look like to, you know, keep up with the progress of, you know, modern civility. And I think that that what we can do along those lines is predetermine what our government should look like so that it can accommodate a variety of values through the secession of states, so that you know, as each we could have at least 50 different values choices in terms of what kind of government, what kind of state you want to live in. To me, that's progressive civilization. Instead of trying to take a top-down, one-size-fits-all value system, and, you know, using the federal government to force everybody into these under the same umbrella. See, that's backwards. That's not progressive, and it's not healthy in terms of accommodating human beings. Now, I brought this up before. There's a thing called the Babylon dynamic in all this, and that is, in the Tower of Babel, God split up people. It's God's desire to keep people separate so that they can fully develop, their potential in terms of what values they're seeking. And as far as Christians and evangelicals, my best friend is a post-millennial, which means that he believes that the world is going to be transformed through Christian values from a grassroots, ground-up perspective. And I agree with that, but I think that the way to accommodate that in reasonable and how should I say it, intelligently, what you would do is you want to have a variety of states, so you could have a contrast between, say, a Christian state and a non-Christian state. See, and how can you do that if you're trying to force people from the top down? Look at the size of this country. There is no diversity. Everybody's fighting to take away all of our diversity. And you do that with the federal government. That's what federal governments do. They take away diversity. They take away true diversity. Oh, they're interested in superficial things like skin color and sexual orientation. That's all they're interested in, but they're not interested in true diversity, where you have people who actually believe different things and they're allowed to freedom to express those different things, and it can't happen in a one-size-fits-all centralist nation like we have. It just can't happen. I can't sit down. How are Christians supposed to sit down and compromise with homosexuals in terms of making legislation? And I had an argument with somebody at a party the other day about this, a liberal, and he said, you got to compromise. I said, what do you mean compromise? You're going to say that gay marriage is okay for anybody whose last name begins from A to M, and anybody from N to Z? It's not. I mean, that's what people mean. What liberals mean when they mean compromise is shut up and go away and let us do whatever we want. And I'm saying you can do whatever you want, but not my state. You have to get your own state and do it. And don't take the federal government and try to force me, your values on me, and I won't do the same thing. But right now, that's what's been happening. It's the only way it can happen. There's no other option. Somebody's going to get a hold of the federal government, that's what happens. They get in there and then they force their values on everybody. So Ron Paul is very much a states' right guy, and I hear somebody try to say that about Perry, but that's a lie. I mean, we see what happened. Here's the problem with Rick Perry. One of the problems is, first of all, he's a stooge for the World Bank and the IMF. That's why he was at the Bilderberger meeting, and they are honing him for this position. And what they did is set him up and said, all right, go out there and pretend like you're evangelical and have a big prayer meeting and get everybody under your wing, so you can, take them into a New World Order administration, and they're just going to go right along with it because they're thinking they're going to get their values out of it. That their values are going to dominate, through the federal government, which is not the right thing to be doing in the first place. So the other thing, the people in Texas wanted to get rid of the TSA. Rick Perry pretended like he was going along with them, and then he double-crossed them, and he took the side of the federal government when push came to shove. Now, I understand. I think they're getting they're starting to back off with the TSA. And by the way, I never used to be. Well, let's put it this way. As far as the 9/11 as an inside job, it was very hard for me to be convinced that was the case. It was just. It seemed to me that it's just too hard to make that case at first. But I'll tell you what convinced me. It has nothing to do with the evidence surrounding 9/11. But what convinced me that 9/11 was an inside job. And when I say inside job, by the way, I mean that the CIA facilitated, along with radical Islam. I'm not saying radical Islam didn't have a part of it. They facilitated these guys, and they're exploiting the Muslim desire to destroy and dominate the Judeo-Christian world, and the world bankers also want to dominate and destroy the Judeo-Christian world, and so that 9/11. But the thing that really convinced me was TSA, because I think that a government that could do what the TSA's been doing is the same government that could do facilitate 9/11 and make it look like it was all somebody else's fault. So now I'm convinced that, because that's exactly the same kind of bad fruit from the same bad tree. TSA, the things they're doing, is exactly the kind of things that I would expect from somebody who would also destroy the World Trade Center and facilitate that destruction for political gain, and to whatever they're doing. I mean, there's a million things they can do with that. They can juice up the military-industrial complex. Keep that going through. So we see all the benefits, the side benefits. Get people to plead for the government to protect them. That's the biggest joke as far as I'm concerned. That's a joke. I'm not going to be pleading for the government to protect me for anything. So anyway, that's it. I think that Ron Paul is doing the right thing, and for intelligent people, okay, Ron Paul would be the only person that I would think is electable for intelligent people. So, okay, you say, well, there's very few of us. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? That's why it's another reason for secession. Maybe we could have an intelligent state. That would be that would be interesting too. I mean, maybe we could split up the states by IQ. There's a lot of things we could do that would accommodate people and allow people to have true diversity. But the way it is now, see people thinking, oh yeah, let's get behind Michelle Bachmann or Rick Perry because they're evangelical. That's wrong. I hate having the secular humanists dictate to me, use the federal government to micromanage my life, and Christians are not supposed to do the same thing. Now, on a state level, it's a different picture. The more local you get, the more independent culture you can have. I'm a tribalist. I believe that that's the way God wanted things to be. Things got way too big now. We know this. That's why they're talking about austerity measures, but they want austerity and they want to be in control. I think that nothing's wrong with slowing down and living a simpler lifestyle and so forth, and maybe not making as much money because you're an independent, small independent group of people. But it seems to me that being free and being less rich, the freedom should override making more money. But doesn't seem to be hasn't been the thought process of the common thought process lately. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents. Intelligent people, Ron Paul. People with less intelligence, choose one of the other candidates. People with almost no intelligence, re-elect our friend Obama.